Hey guys, it's Erika, and I have some really sad plants with me right now. And they're some orchids that I bought when I went to North Carolina. I went to this really cool orchid place that was going out of business, and they had a lot of uncommon orchids, which I'm kind of a fan of. Since they were going out of business, there were some really cool ones for cheap, which one of them I bought wasn't cheap. It was like $25, but yeah, there was a little mishap, and this is how my path looks. Okay, it's very sad. And this one I got on clearance. I have the footage of when it looked good, so I'll show you guys, but you can see it still has its $5 sign on it, and it has like 3 roots, which I don't even think are alive still, but I really want to rescue it. And I specifically bought this one because I found this one on clearance at Lowe's, and I got it and it was only $8. So that one was $5, but I really love how their foliage looks. Like, you can see this one is kind of a really dark green and a light green all mixed together, but the one that I bought at that orchid place in North Carolina it kind of reminded me of a Scindapsus treubii moonlight. It was really cool. It was like a light colored, and like I said, I have the footage so I can show you. So I'm really sad that it's trashed like this. I'm gonna pot it up regardless, hope it lives, but I'm gonna be honest, I have like 10% hope it's gonna live. I don't think it's gonna live, but I'm just gonna pot it up anyways, and I'm so sad that it's struggling like that. And then I bought I did carry them on the plane home like this, and there was this girl sitting in the aisle, because I was in the aisle seat, and this other girl across from me was like, "Oh, what is that?" And I was like, "They're orchids. They're really sad. They got smushed." And she was like, "Oh, I didn't know orchids were that small." And I was like, "Yeah, there's a lot of different kinds of orchids." Like, oh my god, that girl was probably like, "Okay." Anyway, she stopped talking to me after that. But yeah, let me show you this one. So I don't remember what this one is called, but I'll probably be able to look at it. Oh gosh, I just found in here the rest of the path. I guess this is where the rest of the roots went. Maybe I'll pot both of them and see what happens, but I don't think it's gonna survive. Now my chances went down to 5% that it's gonna live. Ugh, but at least I have this one. And this one does have a lot of roots, so I think it'll be okay. It looks relatively healthy compared to the other one. It's really tragic too, because the mix that these guys were in is like gone, so I'm gonna have to make my own mix. There does look like there's some sand. I don't have any sand to pot these up in, so I'm gonna make do with what I have. What I do have is orchid bark, pumice, I have leca balls, and some sphagnum moss. So we're gonna see what ends up happening with that. For the path, I was planning on making the exact same mixture that I made for this plant. Mixing soil for these terrestrial orchids is like the funnest mix to ever make. So we're gonna make some of that, even though the plant is probably dead. So I'm gonna put in some sphagnum moss. And some orchid bark. This is fine grade orchid bark. I would go for maybe like a larger size than this. But this is what I have, so I'm just gonna use it. Some leca balls. Ooh. I'm literally just eyeballing everything that I'm doing right now. I found some pumice and I added it in here. So that's how the mix is looking. I'm gonna mix it up. This is how the mix looks. It kind of doesn't look mixed because it's not that easy to keep mixed, but I have this little teeny tiny plastic pot, and I'm gonna pot the path in here, the remainings of the path. Maybe it'll live, probably not, but I made this mix for it. This is the same mix that I have for my other path, and it seems to love it. It put out this whole entire new growth since I've had it, so it's doing really well for the plant, so hopefully it can revive this one too. And I'm not going to remove any of the older leaves, even though they're kind of dying-ish. So here it is. It was already on clearance when I bought it, so it probably wasn't healthy to begin with. And now it's definitely struggling, but I'm gonna just keep it in here, hope it grows, expect it not to. And we're gonna put it aside, and maybe one day it can look like its brother. And then I found out that this is a dendrobium, and I watched a video of Miss Orchid Girl. She's kind of like, I watch her for everything having to do with orchids. So her mix was consisting of only leca and then some sort of clay that I don't have. So I think I'm just gonna use leca and pumice, and hopefully that works out. I'm just gonna use the rest of this. There's a little bit of sphagnum moss in there and a little bit of bark, but I think it should be fine. And the rest I'm just gonna put leca and pumice. And for this one I have a little bigger pot. It's this size, which is kind of similar to the size the pot it was. Well, actually it's like exactly the same size the old pot it was in is. So that should be fine. And let me just mix this up. There's also a little bit of old soil in here that I'm going to just use. Let me show you what their mix consisted of. Sand, some sort of orchid, and orchid bark, and some, it's kind of like pumice or just something similar to pumice or perlite. There we go. So I'm just gonna add that in here. Like I said, I'm just kind of eyeballing everything, so this is how the mix looks. So here's how that's looking. It looks pretty good. Doesn't look 100%, but there's some little growth coming in, and I'm just gonna water this and this guy, and we're gonna hope for the best. That's it for the video. I hope the plants pull through. Mostly the dendrobium, because I have almost no faith in the path. And maybe I'll have my sister send me some in the mail, because they're really cheap over there in that nursery, specifically because they're going out of business. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!